Bartholomew Buckle was not a particularly bright boy. In fact, he was so unremarkable that when Mrs. Periwinkle asked her class to write down 3 interesting facts about themselves, Bartholomew wrote down 4. He had brown hair, brown eyes, a brown nose, and was very quiet. The only thing that made him stand out was his spectacularly large backpack, which was always filled with rocks. "Why do you carry around so many rocks, Bartholomew?" Mrs. Periwinkle asked one day. "I don't know," said Bartholomew. "I just like the way they feel." And that was another thing about Bartholomew. He liked helping people, but only in his own particular way. When his friend Tilly tripped and scraped her knee, he didn't offer her a tissue or ask if she was okay. He simply put a small rock in her hand and said, "Here, hold this." And somehow it always felt good to do. One night, Bartholomew was at home organizing his rocks by size and shape when his backpack began to glow. At first, he thought it was just the moonlight shining through the window. But then the rock started to levitate, and a shooting star streaked across the sky, landing in the backpack with a tiny thud. Then another one and another, until the backpack was filled to the brim with stars. "I don't understand," said Bartholomew, reaching into the backpack and pulling out a handful of stars. They swirled and sparkled in his fingers, and then floated back up into the bag, multiplying in the process. One by one, the stars floated out of the backpack and landed on Bartholomew's bedroom wall, where they twinkled like a gigantic constellation. Then Bartholomew heard a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "For every good thing you do, little one, a star will be placed in your bag. Help someone, and they will grow in number. Give to others, and they will shine more brightly. But remember, the light you give is the light you keep. So choose wisely, Bartholomew Buckle, what you wish to do with these stars." And then the voice faded away. Bartholomew didn't quite understand what it all meant, but he had a feeling it had something to do with helping people. The next day at school, Jasper was struggling to carry his heavy art supplies. So on the way home, Bartholomew stopped by his house and took some of his rocks out of his backpack and put them in Jasper's bag. And wouldn't you know it, every time Bartholomew gave a rock, a new star appeared in his backpack. He felt funny and a little bit good, but he couldn't help wondering whose idea this was and why. So after school the next day, he went straight to the library and asked Old Man Jenkins, who was known for knowing everything, if he could help him with a science project. "A science project, said Old Man Jenkins, stroking his beard. "What subject?" "Helping people," said Bartholomew. "I want to know more about that." Old Man Jenkins looked at him for a moment before smiling. "Ah, yes, helping others. Such an interesting subject. Come with me, child." He led Bartholomew through the library to a dusty old trunk filled with books and scrolls. "Here, read these," he said. And as Bartholomew read about all the different ways to help people, his backpack began to glow. He pulled out a handful of stars, and they multiplied in his hands. It was then he realized that the more you help others, the more stars you get, and the more stars you have, the brighter they all become. From then on, instead of carrying around rocks, Bartholomew carried around books, teaching everyone he knew how to read and write. And whenever he saw someone who needed help, he would stop and ask how he could be of service. And each time he did, a new star would appear in his backpack. It wasn't long before the backpack was filled with so many stars that they were spilling out of the top, lighting up Bartholomew's face with 1,000 different smiles. And though he might have been the quietest boy in Mrs. Periwinkle's class when he walked down the hallway, he was the brightest.